Chapter 279. Purple Demon Eyes Asura Demon Light. TL by Bagelson. Without a doubt, the higher their spirit power, the faster the spirit master returned. The dense crowd basically couldn't slow down these high-level spirit masters. They either leapt over the lower-level spirit masters, or if a bit tyrannical directly knocked them aside. Those high-level spirit masters very quickly charged to the front of their retreat. Like this, those low-level spirit masters and support-type spirit masters were naturally exposed in front of the Tang army. Galloping horses might not be able to catch up to higher-level spirit masters, but these low-level spirit masters and support spirit masters couldn't possibly outrun speeding horses. As Baby Dong saw the godly Juga crossbow's third volley loose, and the Sacred Dragon Legion support-type and low-level spirit masters collapse, she couldn't keep from bitterly closing her eyes. She had reacted by feel, and her orders was a mistake. Even though the enemy was powerful, the Sacred Dragon Legion was after all made up entirely from spirit masters. If they could have the high-level spirit masters move to the front, then slowly pull back, then even if there were losses, it absolutely wouldn't be as bad as now. Only, now wasn't the time to say anything. Baby Dong shot the distant Tang San a last glance, then called out to her troop of Tidal Dulo and swiftly withdrew towards Jilin Pass. Before leaving, she didn't forget to bring that seriously injured Snakeland Dulo. Among these powers, Snakeland Dulo was seriously injured, and the Tidal Dulo within that ball of red light before was directly torn to pieces, losing 2 more people, plus Heavenly Elephant Huyun Zen as well as Sacred Dragon Tobazai. This time the Spirit Empire had undoubtedly suffered disastrous losses. Tang San basically couldn't manage to pursue. The other Shrek 7 devils also guarded closely in front of him. The instant he was flung back, Tang San's eyes were already blood red. How could he have failed to clearly see who it was that blocked Baby Dong's attack for him? That was precisely his lover Xiaowu. Xiaowu had just used nothingness and burst kill 8 stage drop on that Mad Bear Dulo. Seeing Tang San in danger, she hadn't hesitated to bring Mad Bear Dulo to the rescue. Mad Bear Dulo could still release his own defensive power in the unfixed storm, but even if he could resist some of the burst kill 8 stage drops attack power, how could he block Baby Dong's terrifying space rending abyss cut? He was immediately torn to pieces, but the attack's aftermath also fiercely struck Xiaowu, throwing her out to knock against Tang San. Xiaowu's body was already blood red. Tang San held her tightly, doing his utmost to pour spirit power into her. I'm fine. Xiaowu coughed once, spitting out a mouthful of spirit power that hit the lapels of the Shrek 5 devils in front. Tang San stared blankly. He was just in confusion out of concern. Seeing Xiaowu suffer serious injuries, he had completely panicked. Hearing Xiaowu's voice, he returned to his senses and eased the spirit power he was pouring into her. Xiaowu's big eyes blinked, smiling wryly without the slightest hint of weakness. My idiot brother, did you forget I have the invincible golden body for protection? Baby Dong couldn't catch me, but how can I stand having so much spirit power poured into me? Tang San then finally reacted, heaving a long sigh. He held Xiaowu tightly, lowering his head to push his face against hers. Idiot girl, you scared me to death. Baby Dong's space rending abyss cut might be powerful, but it still wasn't at the god level, and still wasn't enough to break Xiaowu's invincible golden body. It was also lucky Xiaowu still had one last use of invincible golden body's defense. Otherwise she might have already been torn to pieces along with Mad Bear Dulo. Tang San gave Xiaowu's hurt but a smack. Xiaowu miserably raised her head. Why'd you hit me? Tang San snorted. Even if you had already used up the invincible golden body, wouldn't you have charged up all the same? Xiaowu giggled. That's why you have to pay more attention to your safety. Otherwise you can't blame me. No matter what was said, Xiaowu being all right made Tang San heave an enormous sigh of relief. Lifting her up, he looked out over the battlefield. The field was already in chaos. The Heaven Do Empire's 20 legions were pushing straight for Jilin Pass. The Sacred Dragon Legion had lost close to half their numbers after the godly Juga crossbow's 3 volleys, and with 6,000 Heaven Do Empire spirit masters in pursuit, the casualty numbers were constantly rising. Sword Dulo Chen Shin, Bone Dulo Gurong, plus the Golden Iron Triangle already incarnated as the Golden Sacred Dragon, were like a sharp spear furthest ahead, letting the subordinate spirit masters to constantly kill the escaping Sacred Dragon Legion. The Tang army had now split into 2 parts and was quietly retreating on either side. They had already manifested their effect on this battle, and in order to avoid losses, Tang San had ordered the Tang sect disciples to stay in the spirit master formation to support the attack, while the remaining 10,000 strong Tang army directly retreated to the rear and reloaded the godly Juga crossbows. The Spirit Empire's 8 heavy legions had finally reached the front, letting the Sacred Dragon Legion spirit masters pass, while meeting the frantic Heaven Do Imperial army. 2 tides of steel, one side accelerating their attack, the other side already timid, clashed against each other. Even though there wasn't much difference numerically, those leading 6,000 spirit masters settled the outcome. Baby Dong had now already returned to the walls of Jilin Pass. Even now, she was quietly spitting a mouthful of blood into her sleeve, her expression also extremely unsightly. Blowfish Dulo whispered, Your Majesty, how about we send the Angel Legion? Otherwise our losses. We can't send the Angel Legion. Baby Dong's eyes were dim and uncertain. Before we know what those weapons that killed so many of our spirit masters is, we absolutely can't let the Spirit Master Legion soy again. Spirit masters aren't soldiers, even with our depth. It's impossible to reform them quickly. Pass on my orders. The Angel Legion is to man the walls to defend against enemy assault. That enormous hole in the walls of Jilin Pass was undoubtedly an enormous danger to the fort. If the Heaven Do Empire was a river, then this was a break in the levee. While giving her orders, Baby Dong's gaze fell on that dark trident quietly resting deep in the ground below the walls. Finally, the surviving Sacred Dragon Legion Spirit Masters withdrew into Jilin Pass Fort, screened by the Spirit Empire's 8 heavy armor legions. But, along with their retreat, the Heaven Do Empire's Spirit Master Legion as well as Heaven Do Empire's light cavalry legions had also reached the front. One side had imposing manner like a rainbow, their assault led by more than 6,000 Spirit Masters, as well as absolute superiority in military strength, and the other side was already losing morale. Behind them stood the Jilin Pass Fort as well as 4 drawbridges. In the collision of steel rivers, human lives were reaped like grass by the god of death. The proper effect of Spirit Masters in battle was instantly revealed, especially the Golden Iron Triangle's Golden Sacred Dragon charging furthest ahead, as well as Sword Dulo and Bone Dulo. The 3 powers were like tigers in a flock of sheep, opening a hole in the Spirit Empire's heavy legions in practically an instant. 6,000 Spirit Masters instantly dispersed, equally with support type Spirit Masters in the rear, power attack types in front, agility attack types guarding the flanks. But the result was completely different from the Spirit Empire's Sacred Dragon Legion assault. The Sacred Dragon Legion had faced the Tang army's godly Juga crossbows, but now the Heaven Do Empire's Spirit Master Legion faced common soldiers. Although they were heavily armored, what use was that before Spirit Masters? Flame and Cold Ice attributed abilities were the first to appear on the battlefield, before Element Academy students showing their strength. Fire and Flood has no mercy. These 2 great absolute elemental forces basically couldn't be resisted by armor. Following close behind them, the Tang Sect's Defense Hall and Medicine Hall disciples formed the core of the vanguard. Defense Hall disciples in front, Medicine Hall disciples behind, the 2 united. The heavy armored soldiers' attacks fell on the Defense Hall disciples' plate armored giant rhinoceros defense, no different than tickling a leather boot. But the soul-breaking spears stabbing over the shoulders and between the sides of the Defense Hall disciples split the heavy armor like paper. With practically each step the Defense Hall disciples took, 200 corpses would fall among the Spirit Empire's heavy armored legions. 6,000 Spirit Masters were like a dagger stabbed into the back of the enemy formation. The circumstances that should have appeared when the Spirit Empire attacked the Heaven Do Empire's heavy legions now appeared among the Spirit Empire's own troops. The losses were disastrous, shocking. Above on the walls of Jilin Pass, the generals from the constituent kingdoms and duchies were already kneeling on the ground. Your Majesty, hurry up and send the Spirit Master legions to support. Our heavy legions can't hold out. Yes. Your Majesty, these are our elites. Our Jilin Pass only has these 80,000 heavy soldiers. If they're rooted by the Heaven Do Empire, how can we guard the pass? Your Majesty, one heavy cavalry legion is already annihilated. Give the orders immediately. If this goes on, the heavy legions are finished. Heavy legions were extremely important to any nation. The resources required to form a single heavy legion was almost that of 10 ordinary infantry legions. Whether in terms of equipment or quality of the troops, they were all the highest in the army. For the kingdoms and duchies formerly part of the Heaven Do and Star Luo Great Empires, forming 2 heavy legions each was already very difficult. already very difficult. Now that they saw these precious troops being butchered by the Heaven Dome Imperial Army's attack, how could they not be distressed? BB Dong looked at these ranking officers with a grave expression, speaking firmly. The Spirit Master Legions can't go to battle again. As I said, they can't be placed in any danger before we understand what weapon it was that killed so many Spirit Masters before. Even if the Heavy Legions are important, you must understand that the Spirit Master Legions have a decisive effect. As long as the Angel Legion is still here, relying on the natural stronghold of Jolene Pass, we won't fear being broken through by the Heaven Dome Empire. Come. Pass on my orders. Completely launch long-range attacks. Spring the Heavy Legion's retreat. Angel Legion guard within the walls. If enemy troops pursue inside, immediately block them. Listening to BB Dong's orders, the kneeling generals couldn't help looking at each other, their eyes filled with resentment. Of course, they wouldn't dare oppose BB Dong's orders. After all, nobody was tired of living, but in their hearts, a dark seed was already quietly sprouting. BB Dong's orders engendered a kind of feeling like, your Spirit Master Legions are elite. Our soldiers aren't even human. The officers quieted down, but their appearance of having the courage for anger, but not for speech, still made BB Dong even more depressed. Even since the founding of the Spirit Empire, she had always been full of confidence, but at this moment, she discovered that on a true battlefield, she wasn't equal to long-time battlefield commanders. She could still command Spirit Master battles, but after the battlefield turned chaotic, she was a bit panicked. Of course, this wasn't enough to change BB Dong's decision. To her, there was nothing more important than her subordinate Spirit Masters. The ballista guarding Jolene Pass began to show their might, constantly spraying the battlefield below with sharp arrows together with numerous archers. Marshal Ji Long was already prepared. Seeing that his troops had already entered enemy attack range, he immediately passed on orders. The 2 wings of 10 light cavalry legions that had charged into the battlefield immediately dispersed, moving into the rear via 2 large arcs. They didn't go far, but rather formed up in dense formations 5 li from the battlefield, prepared to support the front at any time. Common arrows were basically no threat to heavy cavalry. Each heavy cavalry soldier was like a metal pot. Even their horses were wrapped in armor. The arrows could only strike sparks off their armor. The direct threat was the fortress ballistae. Jolene Pass had no less than 150 of them, each using 1 meter 20 long bolts. With their sudden eruption, within a kilometer, their attack power wasn't less than that of the godly Juga crossbows. Even ordinary Spirit Masters wouldn't dare take them head on. Of course, the fortress ballistae firing rate couldn't compare to the godly Juga crossbow, and as long as one was prepared, it was difficult for these ballistae to hit the Spirit Masters they aimed at. Moreover, the bolts were so enormous that high-level Spirit Masters that were somewhat prepared could easily intercept them. But even so, under the attack of the ballistae, the Heaven Dome Empire's casualties gradually mounted. The Spirit Empire's 8 great heavy legions withdrew to the sides. They no longer had any fighting spirit, and the majority had withdrawn across the drawbridges. After reaching a fortified position, cooperating with the ballistae and bows on the walls, the situation finally stabilized. If Grandmaster now led the Spirit Master Legion to assault, then these miserable heavy soldiers of course wouldn't be enough to stop them. That giant hole in the Jolene Pass walls was right before them. But Grandmaster didn't do this. After their assault was repulsed a few times, Grandmaster and Marshal Ji Long exchanged looks, and immediately ordered withdrawal. The drums sounded the retreat. This time the Heaven Dome Empire had dispatched all cavalry. Even though the heavy cavalry couldn't compare to the speed of the light cavalry, they were still much faster than infantry. Shortly, large numbers of soldiers withdrew like a tide. Grandmaster led the Spirit Master Legion to guard the rear, to prevent any Spirit Empire counterattack. Elsewhere, the Shrek 7 Devils had also caught up, and met up with Grandmaster and the others. Little Sen, your trident. Grandmaster asked Tang San somewhat anxiously. With his research on Spirit Masters, he naturally saw the contrast in strength between Tang San and BB Dong. If he didn't have this Sea God trident, Tang San absolutely wouldn't be able to block BB Dong's attacks. Tang San said, "Teacher, I have my ways. Don't worry." While speaking, his figure quietly disappeared, shielded by the surrounding Spirit Masters. How could he surrender his absolute diving weapon? The vast sea barrier's stealth effect made him disappear into thin air, and he quietly separated from the retreating army, rushing towards Jolene Pass like a bolt of lightning. The moat before the Jolene Pass fort was already completely dyed red, countless corpses left behind. The vast majority belonged to the Spirit Empire. Tang San quietly stole towards Jolene Pass. As long as he got close to the moat, he wouldn't even have to pass the water. He was sure he could return his Sea God trident with controlling crane catching dragon. BB Dong might be powerful, but even if he couldn't match her head on, it was still impossible for her to hold him back. But just as Tang San was about to reach the range at which he could use controlling crane catching dragon, he felt his whole body tighten. On the walls, BB Dong's gaze was already aimed at him like a sharp sword. How was it possible? Tang San was shocked, subconsciously throwing himself sideways. With a bang, a big crossbow bolt suddenly erupted next to him. Personally loosed by BB Dong, Tang San was stunned, and didn't dare move forward, but he didn't understand how. His mental strength was even a bit above BB Dong's, so as long as he relied on the protection of the vast sea barrier and didn't attack with spirit abilities, BB Dong ordinarily couldn't have discovered him before he had retrieved the Sea God trident. BB Dong stood on the walls, coldly gazing in Tang San's direction. True, just her spirit power naturally wasn't enough to discover Tang San, but when her gaze fell on the Sea God trident, she had already expected that Tang San would come retrieve this weapon capable of contending with her. Consequently, BB Dong's gaze was always fixed in Tang San's direction. Even though Tang San hid very stealthily in the Spirit Master Legion, she had still noticed. Among the title duo on BB Dong's side was one with a peculiar ability, able to connect his mental strength with that of others. BB Dong's mental strength alone wasn't enough to discover Tang San, but by meticulously paying attention, joining together with another title duo's mental strength, and reducing the search range, she still caught him. Nimbly falling back, Tang San might as well no longer hide. Revealing himself, he gazed at BB Dong up on the walls, his face brimming with a faint cold smile. Want to stop me from getting the Sea God trident like this? In terms of strength, BB Dong of course had the confidence, but the Sea God trident was a weapon belonging to the Sea God. How could someone else easily touch it? Tang San stopped while still around 2 kilometers from Jolene Pass, searching for a smooth and flat space on the battlefield, where he sat down cross-legged, instantly focusing his mental strength. The Sea God trident brand on his forehead abruptly flashed, intense golden light shining, coloring Tang San's body. In the previous battle with BB Dong, Tang San had undoubtedly exhausted himself enormously. The Sea God trident had admittedly seriously injured BB Dong, but by using that one goes without return, Tang San's own spirit power was also exhausted. In a battle against a power on BB Dong's level, every second that passed would be exhausting, but Tang San hadn't spent too much mental strength, just what it took for the Sea God's light to activate the Sea God trident. Compared to his spirit power, his mental strength was still adequate, and in fact, while BB Dong's attack back then might seem fatal, Tang San still had some aces left. One goes without return didn't manage to block BB Dong's attack, but Tang San was confident her space-rending abyss cut wouldn't kill him. His confidence was in the spirit power he had once used to contend with BB Dong, and even exceeded hers. At that time he had been waiting for the space-rending abyss cut to reach a certain distance from him, so as not to give BB Dong the chance to react. He might end up injured, but as long as he used the purple demon eye at that moment, it was impossible for BB Dong's attack to hit him squarely. How would Tang San be so careless as to leave himself without any means? This was also why he was so enormously regretful when he saw Xiao Wu block the attack for him. Now Tang San's mental strength rose once again, completely congealing on the Sea God trident brand. His body looked as if dipped in liquid gold. Starting from the top of his head, he was rendered completely golden in just a few breaths' time. Overbearing energy fluctuations emerged in this instant, frightening mental waves rising to the peak in a split second. Indeed, there was no forest here, so Tang San was unable to use the blue-silver domain to amplify his mental strength, but he still had another domain. Blended white and red-colored light appeared over Tang San, instantly enveloping his whole body. The light remained without scattering, only surrounding him, but even when condensed over such a small area, that focused terrifying killing intent still pointed straight at BB Dong up on Jolene Pass. What was he doing? BB Dong scowled. She didn't believe Tang San would dare come retrieve that mystical trident while targeted by her. If he really did, then with the strength of the title duo next to her, he would inevitably never return. But where he stopped, 2 kilometers away, was at a distance spirit abilities couldn't hope to reach. What could he hope to do at such range? Tang Tang San very soon provided the answer. He sharply opened his eyes, now turned completely golden. The compacted death god domain wrapped him up in an instant. White and red lights carrying terrifying extreme killing intent merged into his eyes and shot out as golden light. The two rays of light fused together in the air, alternately bursting with red and white. It actually crossed that 2-kilometer distance, closing on BB Dong on Jolin Pass. The split second Tang San released that light, BB Dong felt how her energies were locked inside her body. Even the air around her seemed to be pulled away. That absolutely wasn't as simple as killing intent taking form. That it could still give her such a reaction at such a distance proved that there was a major problem. The extremely terrifying point of killing intent was like a giant maw, even surrounded by several tidal duo. In this moment BB Dong still felt helpless and alone. Deeply golden light enveloping that intense red and white light. The 2-kilometer distance disappeared in a moment. BB Dong gave a fierce hiss, the spiderweb pattern on her forehead suddenly turning dark purple, compacting into a ray of dark purple light that went to meet it. Even she herself felt an intense danger in this moment. She'd once clashed with Tang San in mental strength, but even though Tang San's mental strength was already deep as the sea at the time, his spirit power was still only rank 80-something. Now Tang San's spirit power had already truly stepped into the tidal duo level, and his mental strength had naturally risen with it. But this still wasn't most important. Most important was that Tang San possessed a unique ability like the purple demon that could condense all mental strength to attack a single point, and BB Dong didn't. This was also an important reason Tang San could launch and across 2 kilometers while BB Dong couldn't. But as that golden light was just about to arrive, and BB Dong had already prepared herself to suffer a violent mental attack and drawn out large amounts of mental strength from that tidal duo connected to her in order to defend herself, the golden light that should originally have struck her suddenly changed directions after passing the moat, suddenly turning straight down and falling directly on the sea god trident. Duped. This was BB Dong's first thought. Leaping up without the slightest hesitation, she launched herself straight at the sea god trident below. What Grandmaster understood, she of course also understood. As long as Tang San was unable to get back this true divine tool, his strength would directly fall by a level. She would be even more certain of killing him in the next fight. Consequently, no matter what, BB Dong absolutely wouldn't quietly watch Tang San take this weapon away. But at this moment, 2 kilometers away Tang San had already leapt up, the blue silver emperor right leg bone and evil spirit orca left leg bone simultaneously issuing force, launching him towards Jolin Pass like an artillery shell. BB Dong's reaction was undoubtedly very fast, but she still wasn't faster than light. That golden purple demon with the red and white colored lights directly hit charged towards the ground, and as if it had eyes, it fell squarely on the sea god's heart below the sea god trident's main blade. BB Dong was just falling from above, lunging towards the sea god trident. She had to stop Tang San from retrieving it, just as she was putting even more energy on reaching it before Tang San. Suddenly, the golden light that had rushed into the ground abruptly returned. All of a sudden, BB Dong could only once again erupt with the mental energy she had just withdrawn, the dark purple energy just managing to sweep across her body before it violently collided with that golden ray. And meanwhile, the sea god trident embedded in the earth exploded with incomparably intense golden light. Boom! BB Dong felt as if her brain had burst, violent pain engulfing her whole body. That golden ray wasn't just filled with a frightening mental attack, but at the same time also held the divine presence of the sea god trident, as well as vast killing intent compressed to the extreme. That kind of killing intent didn't just give her pressure and fear, but was also somewhat familiar. Her vision going blank, BB Dong's already injured body bled simultaneously from eyes, nose, mouth and ears, making her seem extremely scary. Flung away by that intense attack, she heavily struck the walls. Meanwhile, that tidal duo supplying BB Dong with mental strength equally bled from all orifices and went limp, collapsing paralyzed on the walls. Mental clashes were even more dangerous than spirit ability collisions, even with tidal duo level strength. If there was any problem, it was very possibly fatal. And now Tang San had already reached the edge of the moat. With a wave of his right hand, under the gazes of the several tens of thousands of Spirit Empire generals, soldiers and spirit masters on Jolin Pass, the sea god trident rose like a golden dragon, returning to his palm. Tang San didn't halt. He didn't even glance at the seriously injured BB Dong. Soaring up, he returned towards his own side. The 6 tidal duo on the wall still with the strength to fight didn't dare chase after him, and could only helplessly watch Tang San float away. He had to hold out. He absolutely had to hold out. Tang San constantly shouted at himself in his heart. He of course knew that BB Dong was seriously hurt, but right now he was practically running on fumes. He was certain that if he launched another attack condensing the last of his strength on BB Dong, while BB Dong might not die, she would suffer even more appalling injuries. But if he did so, he would pay with his own life. How did Tang San end up so weak? It was because of that golden light. For an attack that could even harm BB Dong this way, how could he pay any less? For that one attack, Tang San had paid with practically all his mental strength and spirit power. The spirit power erupted via the purple demon eye. The spirit power was instantly condensed in the death god domain. His 2 great domains had simultaneously evolved as his spirit power entered the tidal duo level. The blue silver domain's final evolved ability was all rivers running to the sea, and the death god domain's final evolved ability could be called Asura manifestation. Just as Tang San was once told by his great grandfather Tang Chen, Slaughter City was established by the Asura god, only it was tainted by the Rakshasa god. But in the end this death god domain was a power belonging to Asura. Even though it wasn't the true strength, after it evolved to its highest degree of loyalty, it could still produce a portion of Asura's divine might. Just that attack was the final evolved ability of the death god domain, Asura manifestation, but it didn't cause Asura's image to appear. This confused BB Dong. Then he again temporarily drew on the fusion of Asura's strength and his own purple demon eye, and launched it. Otherwise, even if his mental strength was powerful, how would it be possible to injure BB Dong at a 2-kilometer distance? Even so, Tang San's attack had still weakened after spanning the whole distance, and BB Dong's defense was at close quarters. Under such circumstances, it was almost impossible for Tang San's attack to harm BB Dong. But it was also at this moment that Tang San revealed his control strength and intelligence and wisdom in battle. He forcefully controlled this purple demon eye's Asura demon light to drop, illuminating the sea god trident sea god's heart. The sea god's heart was stimulated by the sea god's light, and instantly erupted with the power of the sea god, merging it into the Asura demon light, instantly also completely connecting with Tang San through this mental strength. Under Tang San's control, the sea god's heart had provided a reflective effect like a mirror, not only making up for the Asura demon light's losses after crossing 2 kilometers with sea god's power, but simultaneously also joining its own divine presence into it, completely revealing the might of this attack. And on the other side, BB Dong had almost subconsciously assumed Tang San's goal was the sea god trident when his attack changed direction, and was about to retrieve it. Consequently, she paid even more attention to Tang San himself, and only thought of how she would stop him from getting the trident back. Who would have thought that the light that made even her feel intensely terrified would actually be reflected, again descending on her? With her attention elsewhere, BB Dong's defenses weren't as good as on the walls, and was instantly heavily injured, and simultaneously also implicated the tidal duo feeding her mental strength. Of course, only Tang San himself understood all these details. Even the now seriously injured BB Dong didn't understand how Tang San did it. But all this happened before the eyes of both armies, and they had their own thoughts. They only saw BB Dong in defeat, bleeding from the apertures on her head, striking the walls and falling from Jolin Pass, while Tang San proudly took back the sea god trident. They didn't see Tang San's weakness.